Hey everyone, so I'm in the process of making a video about Giannis and just how he's done everything in his power to just harm his reputation this year and the past couple of years. And in the process, I came across a little gem of an article about something Doc Rivers said. And I can't miss out on any opportunity to slander Doc Rivers, so we gotta do that. Now I'm gonna be completely honest, I have barely watched the Bucks since February because watching this team for 4 months was just agonizing. All right, when they're good, it's like a treat, but they were so rarely good. It's like I think one of the last games I watched was it was against the Bulls, where they're leading the Bulls pretty much the whole night, and I'm like, oh great, they're gonna win, and I look away for a second, and all of a sudden the Bulls are on like a freaking 30-0 run or something ridiculous like that, and they lose the game. Doc Rivers special, everybody. But no, this team, I love so many of the players. I really believe Ryan Rollins will become an all-star soon, and I want to watch him develop. But I can't put up with this team anymore. It's so bad. So Doc Rivers said something, and this, I don't know why it's just being reported on 2 days ago, it says. This Sports Illustrated article is from April 7th, but this is from over a month ago. It's that Bulls game that I was just talking about in response to. So Doc held a meeting, and he, quote, implored his team to look at my resume and Google me. I took teams to the playoffs and championship that weren't supposed to be there. I thought that this was one of them. And Shams also reported that this was not well received internally. Shockingly, that was just another example of the disconnect between player and coach. And it also said that no fewer than 6 players ran to tell the story to Shams. So, one, that just tells me that Doc Rivers, he has no control over the locker room. If any owner or GM hires Doc Rivers this offseason, I would be astonished. I would be bewildered if he somehow has a job after this offseason. But if he actually ever gets another coaching position, I think everyone in the league, everyone who's watched NBA basketball I think we all gather around outside of whatever team hired Doc Rivers, and we just beat the crap out of the owner and the GM and whoever else allowed that to happen. Because, again, the only reason Doc Rivers has coached the Bucks, and I'd argue the only reason that he coached the Sixers, is off of charisma, okay? His reputation was in the dumpster, okay, after his Clippers tenure, because he had 2 more blown 3-1 leads to his resume after already having one. So to me, this just says like he's lost the very best attribute he's had for so long, which was his charisma, his control over the locker room, because he's not a good coach. His offenses are freaking ancient. His defenses, he just relies on his own so much of the time, even though it's just getting abused. He's an awful coach, and now he's an awful leader. And obviously, I think I pointed this out in my last video, which was like 2 months ago. It was the end of January I pointed it out. I pointed this out, like his charisma was already starting to crack in Philly, especially when he threw Ben Simmons under the bus. Not saying he was necessarily wrong for that, but calling out Ben Simmons, but the way he went about it, just very disrespectful to say to your star point guard, and that caused a shattered relationship that was never recovered. So there's no reason Doc should ever work as a coach again, and I don't understand. I would be shocked if anyone hired him for a front office role, but there are some very, very dumb rich people in this sport, and if they see a flashy name, a Hall of Famer, and they think that he's the savior of their franchise. So to his actual points about Google me, I took teams to the playoffs and championship that weren't supposed to be there. Firstly, championship, I don't know what he's talking about. If he's trying to argue that the '08 Celtics weren't supposed to be in the finals, is he saying that because he was the coach? Because I can't think of any other reason he would argue that. I mean, they did play the most games a playoff team, a champion, has ever played. They had 2 Game 7s, including one against a 37-win Hawk team, I think. And that was because they were being coached by Doc Rivers, even though they had 3 first ballot, I think they were all first ballot, Hall of Famers, and Rajon Rondo and some other good players on that team. Unless he's talking about himself, I don't know what he's gassing himself up for there. And if he's trying to argue that the Celtics shouldn't have been in the finals in 2010, again, same type of argument. I mean, outside of LeBron and Dwight Howard to the Magic, who was really supposed to get in those Celtics teams' way? Even if they were older by that point, they were absolutely, I mean, you could probably look at the preseason odds, they were probably the favorite in that year, at least to win the championship out of the East. If LeBron doesn't play probably the best game of his career, Boston is probably going to 3 finals during this era. Arguing that the Celtics, he elevated them at all, that's absurd. I mean, in the one season without Kevin Garnett or Ray Allen that he played, I think they missed the playoffs entirely, but I do think Paul Pierce was injured there, giving Doc some credit, because I know he likes getting credit at times. The Clippers, the only season I can see that being an argument is this first year without Chris Paul, because, the Clippers were still competent there, but I think that just more says about the roster wasn't as bad, and it still wasn't great. It still wasn't as good as they were when they had Chris Paul. So I guess we can give Doc maybe an inkling of credit there. I'm not giving him any credit for Philly. Those teams absolutely should have made the playoffs. In fact, in 2023, nobody really talks about this. We should have gotten a Embiid Jokic finals matchup in 2023. Just the collective, choking of having Doc Rivers, James Harden, and Joel Embiid on the same team. But they were still up 3-2 against Boston. They should have beat Boston, and they very, very well could have beaten that Heat team. That team probably should have gone to the finals. I do think that. So that they underachieved there. And then he got fired, obviously. And then, winning 48 games with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo on your roster? That's supposed to be, we're elevating you. And of course, I'm leaving Orlando for last, because that is the sole example for when people say Doc elevates teams that are supposed to be underdogs. That's the sole example they bring up. But even then, that's ridiculous. Orlando was good that first year, or that first year, but it was better than expected, so that's why he won Coach of the Year. And then they just didn't improve after that, despite the fact that the roster got better, despite the fact that Tracy McGrady took a leap as one of the premier scorers and had won back-to-back scoring titles, averaging 28 and 32. They never improved regular season-wise. They were always around 41 wins. It was either 2003 or 2004 that season started, and okay, now we're starting 1-10 or 0-10, and now we boot Doc out of here because now we're finally not being mid. We're just garbage. So I don't know if he's trying to say, look at my resume because I'm so great, or he's just saying, look at my resume, guys, it's not all on you, because I do believe this team was at least a playing caliber team. Part of it obviously hurts that this was by far Giannis' most injury-prone season of his career. That obviously majorly affects, how underperforming this team did. But it's just man, when are you going to shut up? It sounds so arrogant, especially that last part. I thought this was one of them. It's he's talking down to the team. I'm this great coach who's done all these great things. I've won 1 championship in 27 years. I've blown 3 3-1 leads, numerous other leads. I've had 20 Hall of Famers, and I've done absolutely nothing for 18 years. And you guys, I thought you were one of them. I thought you were going to add to my illustrious resume. I thought we were going to go for a 4th blown 3-1 lead. I thought we were going to get close to making it out of the second round for the first time in who knows how long. But no, you guys clearly weren't up to it. It's not my fault at all. It's all your fault. So, yeah, you guys suck. And I saw another report a couple of days ago as well. I actually think I mentioned it in the new video. I might cut it out now because I'm saying it here. But Doc, basically, Kyle Kuzma made some mistakes in one game. So Doc Rivers just spent a whole film session just banging him, just wailing on him. And then the next game, Kuzma didn't get a DMP. That level of lack of awareness, it's your team sucks, dude. You're supposed to be the culture setter. You're supposed to represent what this team is supposed to be. And they just suck. And you have the lack of decency to just start beating on your player when this team clearly isn't going to win anything. The best thing this team can win is a good draft pick out of a miracle. Maybe Adam Silver can get us the number 1 overall pick somehow. He can do some weird things with the Pelicans in exchange for us trading Giannis to the Lakers. The lack of awareness Doc Rivers has, the arrogance that he has, it astounds me. When I made my first video on Doc Rivers, and I am going to make another one when he does get fired just for the lulz, we were 18-28 as a team. We just lost to Washington. That just spells out to you how bad this team was. I think we lost to Washington 3 times this year, and 2 of them were on game winners. Giannis had just gotten re-injured. He got injured on January 23rd. We were 18-26. We lost by 2 at Denver. I remember that game because I was there. Kyle Kuzma, We've gone 13-23 since that video was made, and in that time frame, we've had 2 Giannis fiascos, including one that has unquestionably done irreparable damage to his reputation and relationship with the team. He's not going to be back next year, I'm sure of it. In that whole time, I'm counting 5 wins. Yeah, we left February 26-32. 26-32, and we're 31-49. So we've won 5 of 22 of the past games. And you want to get on your players and act like it's their fault for that. Are you kidding me? You have a good roster, even in spite of the fact that Giannis has been injured for so much of this time. And yet you can't even muster a decent record. This team has been depressing to watch for so many months. They were super fun to watch for about the first maybe like 2.5 weeks of the season when Giannis hit that game winner and they were playing well, and then everything went bad. So yeah, I'll probably make another video. I will make another video when Doc Rivers gets fired, celebrating, because he is quite likely, at least for the Bucks side of Milwaukee, the greatest sports villain in the history of Milwaukee. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing, and also checking out this last video where I talk about Luka a little bit. Have a great day, everybody.